So this is a video called "Everyone Will Be Using This Weapon Now." It seems he's changed the title. I saw the title before. He said everyone will be using hunting horn now, but now it says this is a preview video for Wilds, not a hunting horn video. I think he was making a joke and then he changed the title to avoid confusing people. But this is SuperRAD. He makes really good videos about games similar to Monster Hunter, like Dragon's Dogma and stuff like that. So, and also literally Monster Hunter. So I really liked what he had to say about Dragon's Dogma. I liked his video, so I came back for this one. So let's see it.
Monster Hunter Wilds is available to be played at Gamescom this year, but I can't make it out to Germany, so Capcom was kind enough to have me fly down to San Francisco so I could get my hands on it for the first time. Now, I only have at most 20 minutes of video I'm allowed to show off, with about 36 minutes of personal gameplay footage to edit, so I want to get right into what
they did that for everybody.
Experienced and enjoyed from my hotel room on this random microphone I just purchased, so, sorry about any quality issues. Wilds is the
living the good life
of Monster Hunter, but most noticeably of Monster Hunter World specifically. While Rise was a bit of a departure from World's hyper-realistic design, bringing back portable series mechanics such as weapon skills and arts, Wilds looks to take what World did best and try to evolve it. The graphical and character design is much more reminiscent of World over Rise, despite it being on the newer RE engine. And the game seems...
How does Wilds look different from World? Is it more anime? Is that what's going on there?
To be trying to use the most out of next generation hardware that it can, providing open world areas for the player to explore while minimizing the use of loading screens and the like. You can go straight from the base camp where you accept a quest and ride the new secret to your destination without switching zones like in previous entries. Similar to the Palamute from Rise, we now have access to a new mount that we can take on our adventures. However, while Rise allowed you to choose between Palamutes and Palicos or some combination of the two, Wilds has returned the focus to Palicos specifically.
So Rise is more detailed, you'd say. Okay. Interesting. It was originally a Switch game? Oh, I see. Okay.
Or some combination of the two, Wilds has returned the focus to Palicos specifically while making the secret its own dedicated mechanic, rather than a buddy who fights alongside you. Something I was personally fond of. There seems like there will be much more focus on the customization and development of the Palico this time around, while still allowing you to have the extra maneuverability of a mount. Palamutes were such a popular feature for the mounting alone that it seemed as though they would have become a dedicated feature in the series, especially with it now being open world. To see that turned into the secret, which is a more involved mount, has been an appreciated change. Secrets can run, climb vertically, and glide across the map, making maneuverability even more freeing than it already was in the last entry. This is still a more grounded, world-based experience. You aren't going to be flying through the sky on wire bugs anymore. And while there are more vertical zones, the demo build that we had access to focused on the starting area, which I believe is called the Windward Plains, which is...
I really did like how near to the ground the sacred and the way that it's designed. Like, it feels a lot less like you're entering mount mode on when you're getting on the sacred. I guess especially because you can use attacks on it and stuff. Sax bonk, best bonk. That's true. This is cool. This counts as a bonk. I think. Listen, I think hunting horn may be a hammer. It may qualify as a hammer. That may be a controversial take, but...
flatter overall. However, the minimap has been upgraded significantly and seems to actively show you the layering and elevation of your immediate area, making it easier to navigate these dense and detailed environments in comparison to something like Ancient Forest and World. In that vein, scout flies have marked their return, at least as a guidance system or a GPS to help you locate a monster without having to pull out your map. From my understanding, tracking has been heavily simplified, and once you find a monster for the first time, you won't have to worry about tracking it down again. Ever. Hopefully. I didn't get that many times to try and see for myself. Capcom has seemed to take a page out of EA's book as well with their Monster Hunter-like game Wild Hearts. With the new open world, you can now finish a hunt and immediately run off to explore, starting new hunts as you see fit. They did this.
I love that so much. I love that you can just that seems like it needed to happen a while ago, maybe, but I don't know. It's as soon as I saw like you could just switch like right in the middle, I like my eyes lit up. The last game that I played where my eyes lit up like that when it clicked was like Breath of the Wild, Zelda Breath of the Wild, when it was like, oh, we could just do that. I could just go to the next one and the next one and the next one. So hunting horn is a hammer with music support, fair enough. Beautiful sunset, yes.
This in a really nice way too. A hunt isn't considered to begin until you spend enough time or damage interacting with a monster. Once you have, it will tell you that the quest has begun, and it's as if you have selected a full hunt from the quest board like in previous entries. There is never a reason to go back to the base camp if all you want to do is hunt, at least until it's time to progress past whatever it is you are currently hunting. They have also taken inspiration in terms of quality of life from
Let me back that up real quick.
in previous entries. There is never, and it's as if you have selected a full hunt from the quest board. Considered to begin until you spend enough time or damage interacting with a monster. Once you have, it will tell you that the quest has begun, and it's as if you have selected a full hunt from the quest board like in previous entries.
Okay.
There is never a reason to go back to the base camp if all you want to do is hunt, at least until it's time to progress past whatever it is you are currently hunting.
That's good.
They've also taken inspiration in terms of quality of life from their development of Street Fighter 6, which became one of the best games to get in and out of matches and rematches for. Rematches can be near instantaneous in Street Fighter, and Wilds looks to remove similar downtime. You can skip cutscenes, you can even skip the timer at the end of the hunt, ending the quest immediately if you feel like it. The idea being to get you into the next experience as fast as possible so you can optimize your game time in hunts rather than waiting around and twiddling your thumbs. Other returning features include the slinger, which you can find various ammunition types for, as well as basic things you've come to expect, such as eating for bonuses and the ability to change equipment at a campsite. For all intents and purposes, this
armor
like
looks
the
badass.
sequel to World, basically including enough comprehensive changes and features to look at it as a sequel over an expansion. A huge change to armor sets that I have personally been vocal about is the removal of gender-locked gear, and I think this has been done in the best way. I never had an issue with there being gender designs in the game, but I did have a problem with them being locked to specific body types. Now, male and female characters that unlock a gear set can choose to wear the Type A or Type B design variations as they see fit, and you can even mix and match these per piece of equipment. Maybe you like the Type...
I don't really care about any of that, but I did have the idea, since chat has demonstrated that they are a little out of control at all times, that I'm going to take advantage of this feature and use the male clothes to further cover up a female character if I choose her.
A headpiece, but the Type B waist. The world is your oyster, and this is one of the best changes I've seen in the game thus far. Wilds has also stuck to the new modern skill system within the game, allowing you to stack tiers of various armor skills rather than the old school way of earning enough points to...
Especially feet. Especially feet. I will have a pair of boots from both genders on the feet, covering the feet.
See benefits. I'll take a W where I can, I guess. I prefer the old system, but the changes to gendered armor alone are enough for me to see the developers listening and making improvements based on player feedback. Obviously, the biggest change is going to be with the weapons. I unfortunately did not have a lot of time to play through the game and test out a large variety of them, so I stuck to what I played the most personally, that being longsword and hunting horn, oddly enough. After a weird solo world run through I did, I wanted to try Gunlance as well, but wasn't able to within the time limit. Let me say, while I don't know if it's true for every weapon, many of them have been changed significantly. Longsword alone has become hyper-mobile in comparison to what we are used to from World.
It looks like it turns you into Raiden from Metal Gear. And I do want to say, like, World made me not super interested in trying the hunting horn just because it seemed convoluted, but after seeing some of the gameplay in Wilds. I want to try. I definitely want to try the hunting horn. I want to try the drums. I want to play the drums. I want to play the sax.
Like the spirit combo now allowing you to sidestep during the initial hit, as well as your main combo changing when you hit the highest tier of spirit gauge. You still have things like Foresight Slash and the Sheath mechanic, but there seems to be a higher precedent in allowing the player to spend more time in Red State or level 3 rather than blowing it all on a Helmbreaker. That doesn't mean you won't be doing that, of course. In fact, Helmbreaker now has a follow-up attack only available when performed at level 3 that allows you to perform even more follow-up damage at the cost of not 1 but 2 levels. So you'll go from level 3 to level 1 in one attack if you manage to connect it, but it can be worth it considering how much damage it seems to apply. But like I said, you may choose to stay in the red gauge and deal damage a different way. With the changes at level 3, your main attack combo becomes much faster with extra hits of damage, and from what I saw, some extra mobility as well.
It looks really
Longsword
sleek.
has a new charging move where you can hold the spirit combo button to build gauge over time. More importantly, you can attack out of this stance to get a free spirit gauge level up, meaning leveling the gauge is easier than it ever has been. And while that might sound boring, I believe the reason for this is because they wanted to step away from how focused the weapon was on the countering mechanic, and I have been begging for that change since World, so this was made for me. This is a super rad change, and you all just have to live with it. Sucks to be you. But the biggest news I have for you guys, and something I've already been mentioning on Twitter, is, in my opinion, a huge change that is going to greatly affect the meta of the game. As many of you know, players may now bring 2 weapons at a time with them on a hunt.
Yes.
To change between these 2 weapons, you need to mount your secret, again, I can't remember, and press right on the D-pad. This opens up a world of possibilities for you. You can go from melee to ranged, from fire to ice, from one playstyle to another completely different playstyle. But I had one question on my mind as soon as I sat down to play the demo.
You can go from sword to gun. You can go from bonking to bullets. I'm very happy about that.
Do hunting...
Turn it up a bit? Yeah, sure. Let me see.
horn buffs stay active when you
that better?
switch weapons? The answer to this is exciting, but also one that some of you may be worried about due to, I
think you just said something important.
Play style. But I had one question on my mind as soon as I sat down to play the demo. Do hunting horn buffs stay active when you switch weapons?
That's a good question.
The answer to this is exciting, but also one that some of you may be worried about due to, the implications. Yes, you can buff yourself with a hunting horn and then switch to another weapon. Buffs like self-improvement alone are huge boons for other weapons since it improves unsheathed movement speed and prevents deflections in combat. Add on to this elemental boosts or attack and defense buffs, and you could see how this may snowball into becoming a meta necessity for some players out there, especially solo players. What's better than a longsword? A longsword buffed to shit by your own personal hunting horn. Obviously, the other biggest feature of Monster Hunter is the monsters, and while I can't say that there is anything specific...
I'm kind of worried about how they're going to encourage 2-weapon use. Well, I'm hoping that they're balancing it out by just having these monster battles be so much more overwhelming and intense, and dynamic, like in this open world. I guess the combat that I'd seen, it seemed like they were going for it all the gameplay that I saw from the devs, it made it look really frantic. You're kind of fighting for your life even in this initial area. So I'd imagine if they pulled it off right, they've built a world where you need 2 weapons, to cover all your bases. They freaking divide my helm break damage to a 2-part combo. They butcher my boy. That's tough. And at least it still looks cool, This thing with the what do you guys think about being able to buff with the hunter horn? Is everyone just going to carry a hunter's horn so they can buff and then switch? I didn't even think about that the effects might persist afterwards.
For attack and defense buffs, and you
That
could
sounds
see how
broken,
this
yeah.
will snowball into becoming a meta necessity for some players out there, especially solo players. What's better than a longsword?
Oh, like me.
A longsword buffed to shit by your own personal hunting horn.
Every hunter will at least try it.
The biggest feature of Monster
sounds
Hunter
OP.
is the monsters, and while I can't say that there is anything specific about individual monsters that wowed me, I am happy to report that Wyvern Rioting is out and typical mounting is back in.
Oh, yeah, but then you have to switch like every 2 minutes. Yeah, you got to really want to cheese it, I guess.
You get to mash a knife into the back of some unsuspecting giant dog animal like you did in World. In Wilds, doing this enough will eventually create a weak point, and if you do a weapon attack on said weak point, you can get it down, allowing for a greater opening. Weak points are—
So did we confirm that the way that you open up the only way you open up weak points is by getting physically on the monster and wailing on it until it opens? Is that how the weak point is created, and that's the only way, or are there other ways that the weak point can be created? No. Okay. Any attack is able. Any attacks can make wounds. Okay. Interesting.
Are a sort of new mechanic tied to the focus mode.
I think the dual weapons is good if you're going to run solo, you know? Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be pretty essential for sure.
Mode feature that has been added, and it seems to be a bit of a substitution for the clutch claw, albeit less disruptive to the hunt. Focus mode allows you to more finely aim attacks at a monster. This is specifically used for attacking weak points that show up while in this mode, a mode in which you could technically be in indefinitely with no limit as long as you are holding L2 or whatever shoulder button it is for you. The power of focus mode seems to vary between weapon to weapon. For longsword, I found that I was specifically using the finisher that you can perform within it to destroy the weak points and open up a new high damage area similar to tenderizing from Iceborne. Additionally, monsters may now hunt in packs. Generally, you can run into a group of the same large monster. However, one of them will be considered an alpha of the pack, and that's the one that you're meant to hunt. You can try to hunt.
For Jeff, it means 2 bonk sticks, LMAO. Yeah, I saw you up earlier, Wampo, Combo Lunatic, you said I could just have 2 hammers. In bonk we trust. Yeah. No, I could do that. Yeah, I could have one. Maybe this is the game where I have, you know, I have my hammer with a lot of crit and physical damage, and then I try an elemental hammer just for the fun of it, you know. He could barely use 1, imagine 2 of them. Okay. I'm going to be ready by the time this game comes out. I'll have you know, I'm going to be so ready.
Hunt them all together if you want, but obviously hunting 4 monsters at once isn't super enjoyable all the time. Sometimes it's enjoyable. A little, you know, sometimes there's a challenge element to it. Now we have the new large dung bomb nukes we can fire off to make the packs disperse long enough for us to focus on the alpha. I also found that there was plenty of new ways for monsters to interact with the environment. I had one that was actively making sinkholes in the sand to inhibit my movement, or even falling into giant sinkholes themselves.
That's cool.
That acted as natural traps for big
so
damage,
cool.
similar to things we saw in World and Rise.
I'm a big fan of
to
that
answer
guy.
Some questions I was asked ahead of time that I haven't really covered yet. No, there were no returning monsters hidden in the demo. However, the new flagship was possible to run into. Yes, armor is genderless, as I mentioned previously. No, monster part icons haven't really changed at all. Also, I'm still really lucky in these games. I was seeing a ton of gems. And finally, no, hot and cold drinks don't seem to be returning, but I just didn't see them, so you never know. I obviously can't fit in everything I've seen in my time playing within this video, since I only was allowed so much time to make it, and it can only be like 20 minutes long. It's probably going to be shorter than 20 minutes, but it can only be
it's like that
20
for
minutes
all
long,
of them.
so, you know, my bad. I don't have further access to the demo either, but I may be able to look up something within my footage to answer questions I haven't currently addressed. So if you enjoy this content, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. Hit me up in the comments here or on Twitter, and I will try to answer your questions when I can. I'm already answering a ton of questions on Twitter, but I will try to answer your questions here as well, because I'm such a nice guy. I'm so nice and giving.
Yeah, thanks.
SuperRAD's so nice and giving. It's crazy. Thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.
Okay.
It's really hard
Why
because
do I have What do I have ads?
Monster Hunter Wilds is a
Oh, I forgot to refresh on the page. Yeah, no, I think that it sounds like he enjoyed it. I had not thought about the hunting horn thing. I see why he titled the video that way initially. That's like my big takeaway. I didn't even think about that. I was so blown away by the gameplay itself that I didn't, my brain hadn't started coming up with ways to to cheese with it or break it or whatever. So, but yeah, no, I'm very stoked for this game. I personally am curious to see like what combinations of weapons the community is going to come up with that are the most broken. I just don't know enough about the actual anything that's not a hammer to like be able to speak on it besides the hunting horn suggestion, from this video. But yeah, I really think this game's going to be something special, man. The more I think he played the same demo, but like the more of this demo that I see played from different angles, like the more appreciative I'm getting of it, which is like a good sign because it's just it's the same mission over and over, but I'm seeing it from a different perspective every time. Oh, and the other thing is I am like more and more interested in the longsword the more I see it. So, but yeah.